So Selena, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see you this morning, and thank you for your interest in this session all about the workforce development funding. So I'm not going to, I've got quite a few slides here, which I've included in the presentation because I'd like you to take them away and sort of digest them afterwards, but I'm not going to be going through every single slide in detail, so don't worry, it's not going to be death by PowerPoint. It's just really to give you something to have a look at after the presentation. So that you fully understand the benefits of the workforce development funding and what you could be missing out on. Okay, so we know, we have the facts that training and development is excellent for your organisation. It's really good for induction and onboarding your staff. It helps to retain staff if you've got a really good training and development offer. It's really good for yourselves as managers in terms of your own CPD, and it helps to improve your CQC scores. So as Peter mentioned earlier, CQC are looking at training and development, they always have, and it's very important that you're able to evidence that not only from showing that you have ticked the boxes for the training that needs to be done, but also when they want to speak to staff to find out what they're actually getting from the training, what they've learned and how they've embedded it into their work. So it's very, very important that we think very seriously about the training and development offer that we have. Okay, now the workforce development funding, which we Skills for Care hold every year, which we get from the Department of Health and Social Care, offers funding for training modules and qualifications. So qualification wise, level 2s up to level 5s, so qualifications for management as well. There's a current review going on for the level 4 management diploma as well. We used to have a level 4, but it kind of went away, then it came back, then it went away again, but it's coming back in, and we're consulting at the moment with yourselves, stakeholders, on how to improve that. And indeed, lots and lots of different topics, including the care certificate, which is obviously the essential induction certificate that staff need when they first come in. The funding allows you to claim for the different modules, providing that you have an adult social care workforce data set account. And that is very, very easy to open, very, very easy to register. And I'll give you some details of that later on. Okay, so some of the typical things, these are some ones that we brought in during COVID, actually, to support you with getting people in the door quickly when you had low capacity of staff, which was the rapid induction and refresher training. So you can claim back for all of these once you've got people through these different modules of essential induction training. And you can find out about those on the link under our website, Essential Training. Okay, so all of these are free, all of these are funded. The Workforce Development Fund, as I said, it contributes to the cost of learning and development. It helps you to deliver high quality care. On our website, we have a whole bunch of endorsed training providers that have been through a process with us at Skills for Care to be endorsed, so that hopefully they're good, decent training providers that will provide you with what you need. Once you use those training providers, or indeed if you go to a college, an adult learning college or other training providers, once you've got the certificate, once you've got the certificate of completion, you can claim back the money for the training that you have put on. Okay. So you need to see that there's a process you need to go through in terms of, do you meet the criteria to be eligible for the funding? So are you an adult social care employer in England? Yes, you are. And, have you looked at the learning and development needs of your staff? Have you actually got a training plan? Have you worked out exactly what's needed to ensure that you deliver the services that you deliver? And then you can open up a adult social care workforce data set account and start claiming back for the training that you're putting on. Okay. Now, there are two different ways that you can claim. In Southwest London, we have a Workforce Development Fund partnership. I think David Vincent's coming today, isn't he? So he heads up that partnership, and you can get in touch with him and he can tell you how you can claim back workforce development funding. You can also claim it directly from Skills for Care, and we can support you with that. Okay. All the details of how you open up an account with your anonymous workforce data on it and how you claim is all in these slides, and it's all on the website. So don't worry about reading the detail at the moment. Okay, so the criteria for claiming, as I said, is to open an adult social care account, which is free, which is just a registration of your workforce. Okay, so you're complying with the data set. The data that we collect from you about your workforce, which is anonymous, all goes towards producing a report that we submit to the Department of Health and Social Care every year, and we publish nationally to the public to show the state of the adult social care workforce and who's out there, who's working in social care, how many vacancies we have, the demographics of the workforce, and so on. And it helps us to influence the department, it helps us to influence government on the funding that we need in social care and the resources that we need in social care. So it's to your benefit to have a data set account. Okay, you choose the qualification and learning programs from the list that we have on our website, and there are absolutely loads of different courses, modules and qualifications that you can claim for. And we've also got quite a few new modules on there as well. So quite a lot around mental health, well-being, things like oral care, some of the types of subjects that you'll be more interested in now that have come in that you're expected to be able to meet your CQC requirements and show that staff are learning about these different topics and understand them. Okay, and then you just have the certificate, and once the person's got their certificate that they've passed the course or they've done the course, whether it's online or face-to-face, then you can claim the money back. And what we also play with the funding is not just the money for the course, but you can also claim back the backfill. So if you've had a staff out of the office for half a day doing training and you've had to pay somebody to fill their post, you can claim for that. There are other little bits and pieces that you can claim for as well. So it's not just for the actual course, but you do get some extra resources as well from that workforce development funding. Okay, as I said, there is a list on our website, quite a comprehensive list of what's available under the funding. And the learning modules need to be completed. Well, it would have been from January this year until the end of March in 2023. And then fingers crossed we get funding again next year, and you'll have eligibility to claim again from March 23 until the following year. So that, you know, we have to keep our fingers crossed that we get the funding. Okay, and as I said, salaries while people are undertaking the training, even venue costs, there are bits and pieces that you can claim for. Okay, a maximum of £2,000 can be claimed per learner per funding year. So that's actually quite a lot, isn't it? If you think about most of your training courses or most of the modules might cost sort of £50 to £100 per learner. That means that a member of staff can typically do a lot of courses and get all of their induction. They can undertake a qualification for £2,000. That's typically what a diploma level 2 might cost. And, you know, having that offer, being able to say to staff when they come and work for you or that are already working for you, we can pay for you to do all of this training and development. We can pay for you to get a qualification. It's surely enough for you to be able to have a great offer to keep staff in place once they join you. Being able to say to people, you don't necessarily have to have a qualification to come and work for us, but we will support you to do a qualification once you're working with us. You can train and earn at the same time. I think that's a really good benefit with your organisation. Am I selling it yet? I hope that it's of interest to you so far.
Selena, they want that slide that you've just done, so I think that's an important slide they want you to highlight, so I'm not sure if that will be possible.
Which
so,
one?
the one where you can claim this one at the moment, presently, a maximum 2,000 can be claimed per learner. So I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a decent sum of money, isn't it? When I was working in social care, I did my level 5 diploma in health and social care management. And that was funded through this funding. So that was quite a while ago, but the funding's been around for that long. Okay, so don't forget, as managers, you know, you can claim for courses for yourselves as well. Okay, so there's lots of different programs. Do have a look, and even for staff that aren't necessarily doing frontline care roles, like your administrative staff, your kitchen staff, there are different awards as well that you can claim for people to do those kinds of qualifications and learning as well. So it's not just for care staff. Okay, so some of the typical courses that we have, you know, care certificate, positive behavioural support, that's a new one. Mental health first aid. So if you're thinking about having a mental health first aider within your organisation, which is always recommended to support staff. End of life care, we've got different digital programs now. Obviously the level 2 and the level 3, 4 and 5 diplomas in health and social care, and lots of different courses that people can undertake. And what we also recommend, which is part of the Care Act, when the Care Act came in 2014, is that you have people with specialisms as well. So if you're running a service for people with dementia, that you have people that are doing the dementia qualification, that are doing the dementia modules. If you're running services for people with learning disabilities and autisms, how many staff do you have trained in those subjects that can actually say, I've got a qualification in this, I've done the learning, I've done the training. And that will look really good for CQC to have those specialisms in place. Things like the Mental Capacity Act, everybody should have that. If you haven't got people trained in that, then you are going to be marked down with CQC. You're going to have difficulties with contractual visits. Okay, so it's really important to have people trained in various specialisms, but to have all staff trained in mandatory topics. Okay, for aspiring managers and deputy managers, these are the lists of courses that they can do. A new one, particularly digital learning for CQC inspection preparation. Lead to Succeed has always been a very popular one for managers. The introductory modules, including the management standards. The Moving Up program for managers from ethnic backgrounds, that has been very popular. I know a few managers from Certitude that are doing that program at the moment and absolutely loving it. Learning from events, as I said, mental health first aid, and also being a care certificate assessor. This is something that's been a bit of a passion of mine for years. We've had the care certificate, but do we have people that are actually qualified to assess the care certificate, or is it always down to the manager? Think about training your senior members of staff and your deputy managers in care certificate assessment. Okay, and then a whole list more for new managers there, and a list for experienced managers like yourselves as well. Okay, lots and lots of different modules that you can do. It's really important that as managers you also demonstrate your CPD and demonstrate your continuous learning. Just because you're in management positions doesn't necessarily mean that you stop learning. And although you've got a hell of a lot of responsibility, finding the time to do some of these modules will really look good for you, and being able to demonstrate that you're continuing with your CPD. Okay, and then commissioners, there's some other qualifications as well. So here's a couple of slides on typically what can be claimed. Okay, so if you're doing different modules, these are the amounts that can be claimed. Some of them might be online. Might just be a 30-minute course. You can claim £60, for example, and so on. Quite a few of the modules are online, and you can find out more details about those on our website. Okay, so how to claim? As I said, you do have a partnership in South West London if you're from South West London. If you're from other parts of London, there are either direct access, which is claiming from us at Skills for Care, or claiming from a partnership. Okay, And then you just have a look at our guidance on how to do that, or we can talk you through it as locality managers. You can get in touch with me and I can help you. Okay, and then claiming from a partnership. I'm not going to go through all these because this is the whole of London and South East, but there, David Vincent is the person for South West London. Okay. It sounds like it's complicated, but it isn't. It really, really isn't. It's just a form that you fill in and then you claim your money back. Okay, and we can talk you through it. So if you're not already on the adult social care workforce data set, you need to be in order to qualify for the funding. Okay, I'm not going to go through this in detail because we've been talking about the adult social care workforce data set for quite a long time now. Used to be called the NMDS. It's very, very easy to get an account set up. We can talk you through it if you call me or you email me, or we've also got a help desk and we can talk you through how to do it, but it's very, very easy. It's a very intuitive form, a bit like the .gov forms that you fill in for various bits and pieces. You just follow the steps and it takes about 5 minutes to register for an account. And then you just add your staff in as you're going along. Okay. And it's also a really good way of having your staff data in one place. So on the workforce data set, you can keep a record of your staff's training. You can keep a record of all the different demographics of your staff. So, and as I said, when it gets submitted to us, it's anonymous, so we don't know who you're talking about. But it's a really, really good record for yourselves to have this account set up. Okay. And, you know, benefits to your business, as I've already said, you can have access to the funding, safe and free storage of your staff records. You can manage your training and development. So say, for example, somebody's done a course, it will remind you in 6 months or a year's time that they need to do a refresher. That's how the system works. So it's quite a good way of keeping good staff records. And again, it will also look good for CQC. If you've got an adult social care workforce data set account, they will like that very much because it shows that you're managing your staff data very well and you're keeping really good records. Okay, so we've got a bit of a video on how to get an account set up. Which tells you exactly how to do it. But if you want to just ask us, again, you can get in touch with me. You can get in touch with the locality manager for your area, and I can point you towards who that is if you're not sure, and we can help you to set that up. I'm not going to play the video. So getting started, these are the details. That's the area of our website, and then you've got the help desk number there and also the help desk email. The help desk are absolutely brilliant. I used to actually do the account for Buckinghamshire County Council when I was working for Bucks. So you're thinking 250 staff in adult social care at Bucks County Council, and I used to do the adult social care workforce data set, which was NMDF. I used to put all the records on, I used to keep it updated, and I used to call the help desk very, very regularly, and they were always super helpful and very, very kind and very, very able to talk me through it and help me along. So since I was doing it back 5-6 years ago, it's actually become a lot easier now, and they've changed the system. So it's really, really good. If you're not on it, you're missing out on funding. Budgets are tight. We've got cost of living crisis, and we've got difficulties in recruitment and retention. If you're offering a really good training and development package, if you're getting this funding, then you're on to a winner, really. So we would really recommend that you get started. Don't delay, don't wait, oh, I'll do that in a week, because you'll have forgotten how to do it, or you'll have forgotten the information. Just get it started. This is the adult social care workforce data set is something you can get an administrator to do, to log the records and to open the account, and then once you get your staff through the training, then you just claim the money back. It's as simple as that. Okay, any questions? I've rattled through it quite quickly because I didn't want to sort of blast you with an overload of information, but we will send the slides so you can have a good look in more detail.
One point that was raised, Selena, in the chat, which I've actually had raised prior to the meeting, was people with ASC accounts have tried to log in and not been able to log in, and have tried the, renew your password route, and it hasn't worked. Is there a contact that they can email or give a bell to and get it sorted?
Yeah, so that last slide with the help desk phone number and the email is who you contact, and they will get that sorted out for you.
Thank you. There was another question as well. Do sponsored staff also qualify for the funding, Selena?
Which staff, sorry?
Sponsored overseas workforce coming in.
Absolutely, yeah. Any staff that are working for you qualify for the funding, providing you've got the adult social care account set up with us.
Does anyone want to ask a question? I've got some questions that people had sent to me beforehand. There's about 4 questions I've got. So if anyone wants to go first, other than that, I can ask the questions around that. And you can put it in the chat box if you want, or anything that you want to ask. Now's a good time to ask, just about funding. Okay. Well, in that case, I've got, I think, about 3 or 4 questions. So I hear from various maybe dom care providers who think it's only for care homes. So is this only for CQC registered businesses, or what does it apply to? Is what I've been asked.
Social care provider in England qualifies for the funding, providing they've got that account set up. It doesn't matter whether you're CQC or not.
So someone from supported living service would also apply for it as well.
Anybody, any care provider, irrespective of what care provision it is and irrespective of whether it's CQC or not.
The other question was, does it cover mandatory training as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of those modules I went through on the rapid induction and the refresher, those are your mandatory modules. So you've got your care certificate there, and all of the care certificate modules are on there. So yes, it covers the mandatory training, and I believe the management standards are on there as well.
And the final question I had was that we get a lot of new recruits coming in. If someone comes in and they're employed, how long will it take for them? Will they be able to access the funding for the new recruit straight away, or will they have to go through a various process before that can happen?
Absolutely, Dudley. Yeah, they can access the funding straight away. So once they've got that account set up with us, it doesn't matter how new the person is or how long they've been in post, they can access that funding.
And those are the questions. I think Peter's got a question himself. So
yes, mandatory training. Just a point, this keeps coming up again and again and again. Quite a lot of local authorities offer free mandatory training, and they do it well. They make it available. They sometimes don't publicize it very well. So do ask if your local authority or one of the local authorities that you deal with has free training, because usually it's very good quality and it's free. So take advantage of it. And they say to us, we offer it and people don't accept it. Do we stop doing it? So, please use it. And again, mandatory training, as CQC rather than Skills for Care, CQC are telling us that providers are missing the basic standards when they inspect. And mandatory training is one of those standards. So you must get it right as part of induction, basically. Excuse me, and have a proper training matrix with everything documented on there. I've seen 2 local authorities recently who, when asked by providers if they could join the DPS system, they were asked for a number of items to send through, one of which was a copy of the staff training matrix.
The other thing is that local authorities are all on the adult social care workforce data set. Every single one in the UK, I think, bar 2. And they will be claiming from that workforce development funding. So they are able to claim as well. So that's why they're able to offer the training, because they've registered on the data set and they've got a lot of staff. They have somebody, an administrator or a coordinator that just does that job. Now, realise for providers that's difficult, but if you can get somebody or even one of your techie members of staff, you know, a young person that's really into tech, not that it's that technical, but that likes to sit on the computer, you know, that it's less than an hour a week, if that, just to keep the staff records up to date and to keep it going. You know, it could be of interest to somebody to do that. But I used to do it. I was the workforce development lead, and I used to do it, and I used to have one of my admin people help me out with it. And you know, it doesn't have to be you that does it, that keeps the staff records up to date. And then every time someone does a training course, you just put it into the system, and it logs it for you. And then, as Peter says, when CQC come to inspect, you can actually just download from the system, from our system, and it shows that training matrix. It shows, oh, I've got logged that somebody's doing a refresher in 2 months' time. That will really impress them, because it shows that you've got excellent records, that you're keeping excellent records.
Funny enough, someone in the chat has put in, can you recommend a good training matrix? So I'm sure Selena will tell you that.
Well, the adult social care workforce data set is a training matrix. It's a record of your staff and the training that they're undertaking and the qualifications that they've done. And you can print straight out from that. You do not need to do a separate training record.
And
I see there's a question from the iPhone.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Joyce. I just wanted to find out, I'm a provider in Wales. Does this cover Wales as well, the funding?
I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that, Joyce. I'm going to write that one down.
Because Wales got the Care Inspectorate of Wales. So I'm just wondering whether the funding is across UK or it's just for England only.
I'm pretty sure it's just for England, but I'm going to double check that, because I need to double check. Can I come back to you, Joyce, on that one? Can you drop your email in the chat and I'll come back to you?
Yeah, I'll pop it now.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
England, but...
Yeah, it's very interesting. I was in actually Cardiff the other day for an event, so it's quite interesting. It's not that far, but yeah, it's a good question.
It is a good question, but I'm pretty sure it's just England, but I will double check that.
I've just downloaded the eligibility criteria from the Skills for Care website, and it clearly says England.
No, it's, yeah.
But I would suggest that there should be an equivalent in Wales. And I perhaps ought to know, because I've just done a CIW application, but I don't know that bit. But I would have thought that the CIW inquiry line will be able to tell you. But if not, email me. My email and Dudley's email and Selena's email are in the chat, and we can find out for you.
The other question that may be asked, I guess you can't, because people actually like to use it, as you said, for the matrix and also for the administration. So even outside of the funding, if you're not going to go for the funding per se, you can still use the actual support of what it provides as well. So if you don't want to just go in for funding, you can obviously access it for other sort of means and measures as well. So just to let everyone know.
Yeah. Paulette, hello. We were chatting yesterday, weren't we? Lovely to see you. Yes, you can. Yeah. So provided you've got the adult social care workforce data set, it's such a mouthful, isn't it? Providing you've got the account set up with us, you can claim back for those courses once they've got their completion certificate, or if it's a qualification and they've completed a module of that qualification, you can claim back per module. So you don't have to wait till they finish the complete qualification. You can claim back per module as they finish. So yes, if you want me to talk you through the getting the account set up for that, we can do that.
Thank you, Peter. I know that time may be catching up with us. Thank you very much, Selena. I think everyone's asked for the slides, especially that specific slide which said £2,000 per learner. I think might be probably one you might need to bring to the front of your slides. Peter, I know that we've got John Buttle here. I'm not sure if David Vincent is here.
I haven't seen David or his colleague, but it might. John, do you want to make any points as a noted user, training provider, etc.?
I mean, it depends how much time we've got. I mean, there are a few things. I think one of the key things about WDF is it is not part of the Skills Funding Agency. So you don't have all that nationality eligibility to worry about. If you're doing a diploma only through it, and you can do a diploma only through it, your learners won't have to do the functional skills tests. They won't have to do the kind of exam that they get on apprenticeships. And generally, we can get a level 2 learner through in, well, 6 to 8 months if they're keen, and a level 3 through in kind of 8 to 12 months. So it does speed things up a lot. But with diplomas, we do have to charge an employer contribution as well, because with the best will in the world, the WDF funding is a little bit low for diplomas, and I'm sure Skills for Care are aware. So I think, you know, as an example, we have a class that runs for 4 days every week, and it starts on a Thursday and then runs through Friday and then Monday and Tuesday. And that covers a WDF funded level 2 RQF qualification in administration of medication. And we also holistically teach alongside that care certificate knowledge standards, and that's all of the knowledge standards except for basic life support. And we use the WDF funding for the medication to fund the care certificate elements of that. So basically, it's free training for new staff, and we have a virtual cohort running every single week. And we have put, well, probably about 2,000 people through that in the past year and a half, couple of years. It is also worth noting, I noticed people are asking about overseas workers. This week, for example, we have learners all across London. We have learners coming to us from Taunton. We have learners in Zimbabwe. We have learners in the Philippines, and we've got a couple of learners in Pakistan. So all of that is perfectly eligible, perfectly appropriate, and can be done through the WDF, because the WDF is funding for employers. It follows the employer. It doesn't follow the learner like other funding streams do. So you can even use it for training volunteers, and we've worked with care organizations and others where they've done that as well. And that, again, can be really, really handy. If you're the kind of organization which has a big volunteer base, and you want to make sure, on the one hand, that your volunteers are, you know, well versed in the work that they're doing, but also giving them a little bit of a reward on the side because it is a proper qualification people do, then that works. We're an endorsed provider by Skills for Care, so we can offer all of the Skills for Care funded management training. And we have a group running today, for example, and we've got 12 people going through the well-led, all virtual, and the same more or less for the Lead to Succeed. And one of the great things about the virtual platform is, for managers especially, it's really, really easy for a manager to just log in and do training rather than kind of have to go out of the office for a whole day to kind of turn up, etc., etc. So it does work really well. I would give some provisos. There are, you know, bear in mind that the list of funded qualifications, there is no single training provider that will be able to offer everything on it. because they will be different versions with different awarding bodies, and most learning providers will only go with 1 or 2 awarding bodies. Some of the training there is more practical in terms of time and cost efficiency than others. So, for example, some of the qualifications there, sorry, Casper, come on, darling. You just have to forgive the cat. He got so clingy since COVID, and whenever he hears voices, he just turns up.
John,
I've got one too.
Yes, Casper. If I try pushing him off, I'll be battling forever. This is the only way of keeping him
Are we going for
quiet.
competitive cats here?
Hey, there we go. It would be nicer if he hadn't just come in absolutely soaking wet from outside.
And just for everyone to know, this is not a James Bond movie where they've got a load of bad guys with cats. This is health and social care.
No, I'm not an evil supervillain.
The cats are the good guys.
Yes. So yeah, there were just some kind of bits and provisos there.
Can I just add something there, John, quickly?
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned volunteers. Most of you will be dealing with local authorities. Local authorities will be asking what you are doing to enhance social value.
Yeah.
If you supervise training for a volunteer or social group, then you can add that to your social value costing. And one of the things that we are battling with time and again is getting volunteers trained. And so it's a very, very valuable adjunct to your organization, and one that few people actually manage to do. And because the training is done virtually, distance learning in that sense, it doesn't mean that people have to go somewhere, but it does tie in very nicely to the value of your business. Thanks, John.
No problem. There are slides which I've sent to Peter, so he'll circulate those as well. But well, I don't think we've got time to go through them. So questions and answers are probably better.
Okay, are we opening up for questions now? Is that what you're saying, John?
I could talk forever, but I could see that people will start to nod off if I do.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to bring up, which I discussed with Peter prior to this, is we are very interested to know what are the barriers or challenges to people setting up an adult social care workforce data set account and claiming this funding, because it's, you know, we have just over 50% of care providers are on the data set, and not all of those are claiming funding or have completed their staff data to be able to claim the funding. So we want to know what the challenges and the barriers could be so that we can do what we can to make it easier, or try and set something up to make it easier, because it really is essential data for the care workforce, and you know, essential funding for you guys. So is anybody able to kind of express what they might be finding challenging? John?
Couple of issues which I've come across and which have been fed back, and I think there's two this year in particular. I know that a lot of people went in and were eligible. They did their kind of April the 1st plus and were eligible, and then because it was so late getting the funding from Department of Health, and I suppose 3 health ministers in a year doesn't help, by the time they went to claim, they were ineligible again because a whole new set of sub-questions and tick boxes had been put in. So, I mean, I think that wasn't greatly helpful, and it might be worth, you know, not imposing them as a restriction until the next funding year if you're going to have changes. But I mean, the thing that keeps coming back to me time and again is you're asking so much information about an individual person, staff members. And I do remind people that you can actually just go through, and if you don't know, just click don't know, and that is still a valid response. But I do wonder if you ask for less information about individual staff members, you would probably find it easier to get a more comprehensive general feel of the workforce.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that.
It's an
That's
enduring thing that kind of comes from quite a lot of the people we work with.
I
Yeah.
think that is very true. And one of the points that providers have made, and I would guess around that, one of the points rather that providers have made around that, it's that many of them are not actually clear on their data privacy policy and what they should or should not allow to be published. And usually when data breaches occur, it's normally government bodies or local authorities or bits of the NHS. But again, that's something that providers are going to have to tighten up on, because it's becoming more and more, questioned by the likes of CQC, etc. But, as John said, sometimes asking for less would get a lot more. And at the moment, because people are under pressure with Tracker, which they're not being funded for, and there's no reward, they're just liable to a very large fine if they don't do it. And it's fair to say that virtually every social care provider is under fairly serious financial stress at the moment, and time's money.
I mean, I would also add in, Peter, to that is that a lot of providers who I've been speaking to are just having that time to fill out the actual data set itself. So actually, I know it's a big ask, but actually having almost a service that also helped them with the onboarding would be great. I think if that happened, it would take some of the concerns, because I know there's lots of providers I speak, they've actually started it with the best of intentions, and it's sitting there, and you go and say, okay, well, we got through this, and then they almost gave up, or something came up at the time, and it's on their to-do list. And as we know, as John says, as time goes by, then other requirements come, and then before we know it, it's almost halfway through the year. And so I think that's important. So maybe speaking with providers and maybe having something like that going forward, maybe something that may help with numbers sort of coming through.
Yeah, I remember when I used to work in Ealing, we had Laura come along and do some workshops where we all just sat down and set up our accounts together and got it all underway, and had those kind of workshops. And it's very difficult in terms of capacity to do that, but I do hear what you're saying, and it is another administrative task on top of all the tasks that providers have to do. And all I would say is in the times of financial constraints, this is free training and qualifications. So I have heard quite a bit from providers recently about they've lost their trainer, or they don't have the funding to recruit somebody to come in and do specialist training from them anymore. And so, being able to think outside the box and think, well, okay, I've got a little bit of an admin headache to get over, or I can get somebody to do that for me. Bring in an apprentice, bring in somebody from a college, maybe just to sit down and do the account for you. This is the kind of suggestions that we've been coming up with. A student, a health and social care student, somebody that can come in and just sit down and plug the information in for you. The data is anonymous. It's an algorithm that just picks up the data and then feeds it into a statistical information that we feed back to the department. So we don't know who you're talking about when you put in your staff data. That's purely for you to see. But when it comes through to Skills for Care, it's completely anonymous. It's literally an algorithm, sorts it all out, and then we said, we know that this information, that information, and that information. We don't know who the care provider is. We don't know who the staff are. So you've got nothing to worry about in terms of data and data protection. And it just means that, we can influence and try and get the best that we can out of the government for you in terms of funding. We've had a little bit of good news this week in terms of what's coming out of government for social care, but that data is essential for us to be able to feed into the department, and and that's why we attach the funding to it, to say, come on, this is what you get if you just give us that little bit of anonymous information. So I am very, very prepared, and other locality managers, Mike, myself, other people are very prepared to sit with people on the phone or on Teams and show them how to do it if that's what it takes. Because we really need to get more providers on there. Yeah, John, yeah.
If I can butt in, that anonymous nature of the data is really important, because I think a lot of employers I talk to, get worried that they're passing on personal information, and they're not. But secondly, they get, and are understandably worried that, say, for example, you have a learner, and it happens a lot. I mean, we train a fair chunk of new care staff. Some of them will do the training and they will just never be seen again. And the employer gets worried that, having done the training, they won't be able to claim the funding back. But that's not actually how it works, because Skills for Care will simply see that this is a valid claim for a person who's done this course, tick. They will then see that this organisation has 10 people, for example, on the ASC, and they're putting claims for 10 people, tick. That is as far as it goes. That, you know, Skills for Care doesn't track your ASC account for John Buttle to check whether John Buttle has this certificate. It doesn't work like that. So it's a lot simpler and less worrisome for employers. And the anonymous thing isn't just about personal details. It also means if you have a learner, and it happens a lot with diplomas as well, where they get about 3/4 of the way through a diploma, they move to a different employer. We can normally get them to carry on that diploma, and when they finish, as far as I'm concerned, that employer who originally signed them up is perfectly entitled to put that claim in, because they've spent the investment on training that person. The money follows the employer, not the learner, and I think that's really, really important.
Absolutely. And it is an investment. Invest in your staff and you will get the rewards and the payback. There's a really excellent question in the chat from Patricia. Thank you, Patricia. About, you know, you use one training provider using the same method. That's absolutely fine. If that's what works for your organisation, you can still claim funding for that. It doesn't have to be from our list of endorsed providers. All we're saying on our list of endorsed providers is these are people that we know are good training providers. They've been through a process, a vigorous process with us, so that we can check them off and make sure they're good. If you've got a training provider that is providing your training courses for you, providing you're on the data set and you can provide certification that the person's completed the course, you can claim that funding. It doesn't have to be from our website. So, Patricia, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I saw that question as well, Selena. And what I would say is that if you're looking to use a training provider, ask them for some references, see how they work.
Yeah.
Because, you know, many of the training providers are very happy to give, you know, if they're any good, they're going to be very happy to give references, and you can talk to other providers.
Yeah. But also, as long as they give you a certificate of completion and, you know, you've got that and your people are on the data set, you can still claim that funding from your own training provider. That's absolutely fine. My organisation is Ofsted registered. Can I claim back the paediatric first aid? You need to check the list of courses that are eligible for workforce development funding, Paulette, on that one. I'm not sure if paediatric first aid is on there, but I can check that for you. But our list of everything you can claim for is on our website, and I'll send you the link. In fact, I think I did send it to you yesterday, but I'll have another look for you.
I put the link in earlier on in the chat, so it's in the chat somewhere, but it's not difficult to find on the Skills for Care website.
So I think that was someone. So what you're saying, Selena, is that only the courses that are actually on the actual list. So can you only the ones that are on the list can be claimed for. So if there's another course which someone sees which they feel is relevant for adult social care, if it's not on the list, they can't claim for it, is what you're saying.
No, and you know, most of the typical courses that people need to do, and then the extra courses that are really, really useful to workers in different specialisms and different areas of work and provision are on there. So, you know, but there will be some of them that aren't on there, yeah. But if you can claim for most.
No, it's definitely important. I think the key thing here is everyone is actually just, we all know that everything is tight, as Selena's mentioned. Actually, funding really helps, and people are unaware of funding. We're trying to make and give awareness of the funding that supports you and what you're doing. It also helps staff and around retention as well, to actually see their value, that you're actually giving them something back, which they can also be entitled to. And as you said, it's beyond just the mandatory courses. Do go and have a look at the other sort of specialized courses which might benefit them as well. So I think also think about outside the box rather than your mandatory. And especially for those who come into your organization, actually give them maybe an extra course that they can have a look at the list of what they may do. And that also helps when you are actually getting someone to sort of like stay in a course as well, especially helps with retention. So there are various things that can be done. And as Selena said, you can contact her, contact us as well. If you need information of how it goes through, we've got people like John Buttle here who are actually a trainer. They'll tell you of timescales and how things work when in actually training, be on site or virtually as well. So I think there's a lot there to look at, but the actual action is actually taking place. Is do it now, have a look at just go and register, and the rest you should be on your way.
Yeah.
Peter and Selena, and I think I'll leave the rest up to you before we go.
No, I mean, it's just to say really that if you can get this kind of thing in your recruitment adverts, I mean, obviously recruitment and retention is a whole new other session workshop, but if you can get stuff in your recruitment adverts, your advertising on, you know, join us and you will have access to this qualification, we can, you know, get you through this training, da 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 da, you're going to have a more likelihood of being able to recruit new people, because we know that you're having difficulties out there recruiting. So do think about it. And do please come back to us if you've got any questions. I'm very, very happy to help.
And I think I would add to that it's pretty much a proven fact that if you train your staff properly, they will be better motivated, and it affects retention, and retaining staff is a great way to save money. There's a question in the chat which I don't know the answer to. I'm not sure if either Selena or John know the answer to that.
Is it Teresa's?
Yeah.
Thanks, Teresa. Timeline, when should the staff have been with you for you to claim? And are we claiming on apprenticeship.gov? No, you're not claiming on apprenticeship.gov. You're claiming from Skills for Care. And staff, it doesn't matter how long they've been with you. If you've had somebody with you 1 week and they've done a module from our list, you can claim the funding. If you've got somebody who's halfway through a course and you want to get the funding back for that course, providing it's on our list, you can claim the funding.
When they finish.
Please, is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Good.
Did John want to have something to say quickly, or was that just?
Just a reminder that you can only claim the funding once a course has been completed. So for short courses and stuff we do, that's fine. We normally will invoice you at the same time that we give and send on to the partnership that you're working with the claims information. If it's something like a diploma, you will have to wait until they've finished the diploma to get the funding back. We have mechanisms around that, but it's just worth bearing in mind that, you know, it is always once somebody is completed. And unfortunately, you can't get funded if somebody drops out halfway through and disappears.
Yeah, I think there's an important point there. So those who are actually spending money, just obviously do specify that with the learners that you've got on point. But I think the trainer, John, will be very helpful to guide you through it. I think wherever course you're doing, speak with the trainer alongside of it to actually clarify various bits of information and cross-reference that with the actual funders, Skills for Care as well.
Okay. If there's no more questions, I'll wrap it up. Thank you very much, Selena. Thank you very much, John, and all of you for coming today. We will put the recording on the website. We will put the slides on the website, and we'll send a document round and we'll put on WhatsApp that, and still people are arriving. We will put a note round to say that the information is there, and we'll circulate it through WhatsApp as well. And so that should be there fairly swiftly. And if you have any questions, please do ask. And remember, you know, it's free money in effect. And if Skills for Care don't spend it, they have to give it back to the DH. So you might as well help them spend it.
Yes, please.
Okay, so many thanks, everybody, and have a good day and talk to you again soon. Cheers now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.